any fear of contradiction, though a certain amount of surprise, Gandhi was not a categorical opponent of violence. There were many qualifications he entered, of which two I want to look at quickly now. Number one, it was Gandhi's view that he wants to recommend nonviolence, but he recognizes, according to the contemporary standards of right and wrong, people are allowed to resort to violence. And you have no right to tell people they can't use violence, or tell some people they can't use violence, because that's the current standard of right and wrong. You can. So he says, for example, if you face a personal insult, if you feel humiliated, you will be justified in slapping the bully in the face, or taking whatever action you might deem necessary to vindicate your self-respect. For those of you who remember or know the famous line that's often quoted with Malcolm X, by any means necessary, it comes as a certain surprise to learn his actual precursor is Mahatma Gandhi. By any means necessary, you have the right to take whatever action you might deem necessary to vindicate your self-respect. On the specific question of the Palestinians in the 1930s, Gandhi was already a significant political actor, and as some of you will know, a revolt broke out in Palestine against the British Mandate and the Zionist colonization of Palestine. And Gandhi was asked his opinion. It was a very violent revolt against the British mandate and the Zionist colonization. Gandhi responded, well, I can't defend the Arab excesses, and I wish they had chosen nonviolence to resist what they rightly regarded as the unjustified encroachment upon their country. But then he went on to say, in unequivocal terms, according to the accepted canons of right and wrong, nothing can be said against the Arab resistance in the face of overwhelming odds. That's the current standard, and nobody has the right to impose on any single people a higher moral standard than the one that currently exists. You can recommend, you can prefer, but you can't deny to some people the right that others have under current existent morality. The second qualification he enters will come as, I think, a much bigger surprise. Namely, Gandhi had a kind of hierarchy. He prefers that you use nonviolence, for reasons which we already looked at. But he says, if you don't have the inner strength, the moral reserves, to take all the blows, as he puts it smilingly and cheerfully, if you don't have it in you, and then the only choice is between hitting back and running away, Gandhi is very clear. You better hit back and hit back hard, because there is nothing for Gandhi more contemptible, more reprehensible, more shameful than cowardice and weakness. It's not violence that Gandhi detests the most, it's cowardice and weakness. If you read his writings, the words that constantly appear are manhood, manliness. Be a man, says Gandhi. Be a man at most by taking the blows. But if you can't, you better hit back and hit back hard. The fundamental thing to be borne in mind, says Gandhi, is that people should, under no circumstances, be cowardly or impotent. It is unmanly to run away from danger. And nothing filled him with more disgust than people who used nonviolence to mask their cowardice. For those of you, or weakness, for those of you who've read Nietzsche, his genealogy of morals, He's exactly on the same page with Nietzsche on this question. Nietzsche detests those Christian ethics which weak people adopt because they don't have the courage to hit back. And Gandhi says, word for word, the exact same thing. I ask you, says Gandhi, is our nonviolence the nonviolence of the coward, the weak, the helpless, the timid? In that case, it is of no value. A weakling is a born saint. A weak person is obliged to become a saint. But we are soldiers of nonviolence, who, if the occasion demands, will lay down their lives for it. If one makes use of nonviolence in order to disguise one's weakness, it makes a coward of you. Using physical force with courage is far superior to cowardice. At least we would have attempted to act like men. I cannot stand cowardice. Let no one say when I am gone that I taught the people to be cowards. If you think my nonviolence amounts to that or leads you to that, you should reject it without hesitation. I would far rather that you died bravely dealing a blow and receiving a blow than died in abject terror. Cowardice is worse than violence because cowards can never be nonviolent. So such people should learn to defend themselves. Gandhi saw no inconsistency between his creed of nonviolence and his revulsion of weakness, because in his view, being nonviolent requires a lot more courage and bravery than to be violent. Intuitively, that just doesn't sound right. But then when you begin to read Gandhi, it makes perfect sense. Because he says to be truly nonviolent is to be willing to march into the valley of death unarmed, as he puts it, smilingly and cheerfully. To be willing to face the bullets, face your death, but not armed to resist, not armed to retaliate, but simply to acquiesce in your death. I believe that a man is the strongest soldier for daring to die unarmed, with his breast bare before the enemy. Where is courage required, he asked, in blowing others to pieces from behind a cannon, or with a smiling face to approach a cannon and to be blown to pieces? By that standard, it seems to me a reasonable argument to say there's no inconsistency between Gandhi's revulsion of weakness and cowardice and his preference for nonviolence, but always bearing in mind the true Gandhi and not the Hollywood or made-for-television Gandhi. The true Gandhi, if you don't have it in you to march smilingly and cheerfully to your death, unarmed, and the only choices are to run away or to hit back hard, Gandhi says, you better hit back hard or you're a weakling and a coward. How does this satyagraha work? Well, here Gandhi is a little bit, I think, not a little bit, he's very inconsistent. Because Gandhi is very insistent, as I said a few moments ago, that his philosophy is one born of love. You suffer enough, you'll make your oppressor see your humanity, and as Gandhi liked to say, make his, because he was mostly talking about men, make his heart melt. So Gandhi would say, had the Jews suffered enough during World War II, they could have, to use his image that he uses over and over again, they could have made Hitler's heart melt. Hitler heart melt sounds like an unusual sequence of words, but Gandhi apparently believed it. But if you look at his actual creed in action, he's really not very consistent.